Welcome.
Hey, Jackie.
Welcome to the Engaged in Any Age Summit. I'm Jackie Sabrin, your host, and I'm delighted to introduce a fabulous speaker today, Charly Emery. Charly, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you, Jackie.
I'm really excited about the topic, the hot topic today, and I'm going to dive into that in a moment. But first, I want to share with the audience a little bit about you and your wonderful background and everything you've been doing and how you became to be such a great expert for us here, okay?
Sounds great.
Okay, and so I'm going to read a little bit of it, but you're passionate about living a lifestyle you love. I love that. You're a vivacious author and entrepreneur in the realm of luxury goods. You're also a coveted strategic confidant for those who want to experience the best of life and love. You have a hip, modern, entertaining style, and you've made personal appearances on Fox News Boston, NBC, countless radio shows, and E! Network's reality show Opening Act. Oh, I love that. And this is where you brought your life-changing consulting skills to television. How fascinating. And you're also known for keeping it simple, fun, and effective, as you've demonstrated by your first two for your first two books. So I'm excited to hear about all of that. And our topic today is really great because you're going to share with us how to be irresistible at every age. And it's so relevant to being engaged at any age. And so thank you so much again for being here. And I'd love to just, if you wanted to add anything to your bio, otherwise we can jump right in.
Well, I say we jump right in because it's such a great topic, and I'm sure all the women out there are like ready to go.
Okay, with all the pressure and responsibility on women today, where do women even start with this, being irresistible at any age?
Ooh, well, the first thing is they have to recognize that it's actually possible. That's the prerequisite right there, because perspective is everything. And if you don't believe that something is even possible, then no matter what kinds of steps you take, there's a part of you that's already in conflict with achieving that result. So you've got to recognize that it's possible, and then also embrace the idea for you and make it a priority. And by making it a priority, you've got to weave it into everything else that you're doing in your life. That is so important.
Absolutely, because I feel like maybe as we age and we get older, we start to make some assumptions that we have lost our irresistibility, and so I love that we're exploring this topic more in depth. And so, why do so many women struggle with how they feel about themselves at different ages? Let's touch on that.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think that what has happened is in the world today, we're basically living in a fishbowl. And it's, in some ways, it can be very good. And in other ways, it's very harmful. Because if you turn on any morning show, talk show, there's always some sort of comparison going on, even when supposedly the segment is about a fresher you or a better you. It's always coming from a place of taking you down, criticizing something that you already are or that you're doing. And so when we really look at what's behind all of this, we have to recognize that we're in a place where we're never actually just asking ourselves, where am I? Where do I want to be? What do I want to do? It's always, where should I have been? And when we look at things from that perspective, it's really, really dangerous, because then we're always in this place where we're not good enough, instead of recognizing that life in itself is dynamic. And so I think what happens is, at almost any age, I mean, I see it with women who are 25, 30, should they have been married already? Should they have had children already? Where should they be in a career? We have to step out of that place of judging ourselves by visions that were old and get into a place where we start being more present and saying, okay, well, here's where I am. What do I want to do? Create a new vision for that, and then it's very easy to put a plan of action together to get it.
I love that. It's just taking that practical approach, but starting with where am I? And really taking time to assess where you are and what it is you want. Because without that, like you said, the shoulds, you start shooting on yourself, and don't take time to examine what's really going on, what you want. So let's see, another great question. What can women do to shift their perception of themselves and how they're aging? I think that's great.
Well, you know what? This is about putting the power in your hands. You know, a lot of times there are misconceptions about what power is, but I think that the best thing for us as women to recognize is that power is choice. And that's the one thing that we always have at our disposal. A lot of times we don't realize that we take certain choices off the table, and it's our perceptions, our misperceptions that cause us to do that a lot of times. But if we really want to rein that power in, then we need to start from a place of choice by saying, where do I want to be? What feels good to me? Finding a personal best. You can find a personal best with your weight. You can find a personal best with your hair, with your car. I mean, there are so many things that we just need to get back in touch with and say, okay, wait a minute. Where am I today? Let me let go of where I thought I might be, where I think I should be. Where am I today? What do I want to change? Where do I want to make adjustments? You know, we are always aware of the things that are irksome to us, that don't feel very good. And what we really need to do with that is come from that place of power and say, okay, wait a minute. We have a choice, and there are changes we can make. If the friends we have are not as supportive as we want them to be, we can make new friends. If we recognize that the jobs we're doing, some of the stuff that we're doing is not really that fulfilling, well, you may not be able to change jobs immediately, but you can add other things in that give you a better sense of satisfaction. And so we've got to start there by recognizing that life is dynamic. So even when we make a plan, there's always new information that's coming in. And if we stay attached to what we did before or what we saw before, then we're not in that position to be able to say, oh, wait a minute, okay, that's showing me that I need to add a little more of this. I need to turn a little bit more to the right and then a little bit over to the left. You know, we have to engage with life at the speed that it's moving by actually making little corrections and adjustments and shifts to what we're doing. Then we'll be in that flow and actually be creating something we're excited about living.
So when you're talking about making these shifts and adjustments, where do you find that women, I guess, forget that they're in control, that they have the power and to change their perception? What do you think along the line what happens with women where they kind of give up until, you know, what triggers that?
Well, you know, what I've found a lot is that when you have an idea of how you thought something was going to be, and then it's not that way, there is a tendency lots of times you're not seeing it for what it is. I mean, we many times are rerouted for much more advantageous opportunities, but because it's different than what we thought, we all of a sudden feel like something went wrong, you know, and something's wrong with where we are. But I think that it's really, really important not to project onto the future that difference in where you are today maybe versus where you thought you would be. And you have to keep on asking yourself, okay, well, I'm here. I thought I was going to be over here. I remember when I went through my divorce, you know, in going through that period where I realized, okay, I didn't think at the age that I was getting divorced. I remember realizing that I envisioned my life at that point as being really happy with my husband, continuing to build this life together, and all of a sudden here I was divorced and kind of starting anew, right? Yeah. But I had to let go of where I was in the plan that I was on, and instead of saying, wow, this happened, so now I can't trust anything that I believe in or anything that I'm building, no, you look at and you pull the lessons out of where you are and you say, well, it's time to build something new, because even though I might have thought that that was the plan, clearly there's another one, and I can either just end up falling into what I fall into, or I can be a dynamic part of directing what's next. And I think that letting go and releasing things is a huge, huge part of what opens us up to be able to create fantastic things in the present and the future.
I'm so happy that you brought that up, because you're so right. Letting go. I think that's where, and you answered that beautifully, is where we get stuck. And when we get stuck, we don't realize that we still are irresistible, because that stuckness kind of takes that factor away. And so I hear this a lot with women being stuck in their lives, and they're thinking that they were going to be further along or doing this, like you pointed out. What is your just recommendation how you can get unstuck? I mean, to let go.
Well, you know, part of it is that you have to be really accountable to yourself, and you have to ask yourself how much it's working for you. Because you know, when you really get to the bottom line and you say, okay, what are my options? Well, I can either hold on to this idea and beat myself up about it, and you know how it feels when you're in that space. It doesn't feel good. So you're really coming down to a very simple choice, actually, and that is, do I want to beat myself up and be stuck in this place that basically is not living? Or am I going to let go of it so that I can at least put myself in a position to attract something fantastic, something new, something better than what I have? Even if you can't conceive of fabulous yet, you can at least conceive of not being so stressed, not being so down. So if you start saying, hey, let me just get to this feels pretty good is so much better than the alternative.
So I agree so much with everything you're saying. It's beautiful. And so when you are feeling that way, you're feeling a lack of self-love. Oops, hang on one moment. I guess I didn't turn my, you know what it is? My phone's off, but the computer now, you have a Mac, it will ring through to your computer, and I need to figure out how to turn that off. So that was the first. I apologize for the interruption.
That's okay. I think if you go into your settings and you hit under sound, there's alerts. I think that will keep all alerts off.
Yeah, that's a new one. It comes up on my screen, and wow. So what I was getting back to what you were saying, self-love. When when a woman isn't feeling, she's stuck. Trying to wrap myself around where we were talking about. When a woman doesn't feel self-love, how does she move from there to feeling irresistible? Because I know that's a big step.
Yes, and you know what? This is one of my favorite areas, actually, because sometimes people in the self-help realm, they don't like it when I say you need to trade self-love for loving you first. But the reality is that the idea of self-love, when you think about it, it's very passive. And for most women that I've encountered, all the women I've worked with that I've encountered, whenever self-love comes up, it's always something that they think about in terms of how they should feel about themselves versus what they should do. And if we think about going back to, learning arithmetic, you didn't learn how to add without doing those equations. And we don't get great with...
I'm on a call. I'll have to call you back. I'm going to edit that out. Okay.
No problem. I can pick it up from the beginning of that.
Second time he called again. So okay. I'll ask the question again, and we'll just start from the self-love question.
Sounds good.
Okay. I am so sorry.
No worries. I'm rolling with you, Jackie.
Hey. So how does a woman who doesn't feel self-love go from feeling not so good about herself to going to feeling irresistible?
Well, you know, this is such a great question because the whole self-love aspect for me is a little bit of a toughie, because what I found is that with self-love, women are always thinking of it in terms of how they should feel versus what they should do. And whether you want to have self-love or you already do, I find the same problem exists. It's not backed up with action. So the good news is that even the woman who doesn't feel self-love, don't worry about it. We're going to trade that anyway for loving you first. Then we move from the passive to the active. And it's those actions, the way that you treat yourself every day, that's where the whole idea of self-love typically gets lost in translation anyway. Because people will say, well, I love myself because, you know I deserve this and I know I deserve that. And I say, okay, but what are you doing? And then when we look at the schedule and we look at the day, they are beating themselves up from morning until night. And that does not translate into you really feeling self-love. So by loving you first, we're taking those simple steps of beginning to factor yourself into the daily equation and saying, okay, if you're tired, if you need some time after work, what do you need to do for yourself? If there's emails you need to send, but you know that you need to take some time and recharge, then you take that time for yourself. It can be as simple as when you come home, you take 10 minutes or 15 minutes where you say, I'm not doing anything that's related to anybody else right now. I'm going to deal with me. Now, obviously, if you have a family, you have kids, you've got to greet everybody, but you can still say, okay, you guys, I'll be back in 15 minutes, and go into your room and take 15 minutes to decompress. That is an incredibly simple yet loving action. And what we have to realize is that when we're building love for ourselves, which factors right into feeling irresistible, it comes directly from the way that we treat ourselves. And it's all those things, like even being able to say no and not falling into that false sense of obligation. There are times when you may really want to be there for someone, but you need to be there for yourself first, because there's not enough time in your day and you need that rest. Those are the little things that are all, they're sending your brain signals and your heart that you're important. And when you can do that for you, it changes the way other people around you treat you as well. And it's the cornerstone of moving into that irresistible feeling.
Wow, you know, no one's ever really articulated it in the way you just did. I think that was really phenomenal. Adding that action piece and turning that around from being passive to being, and so say that again. So just.
Well, you know what? I'll even give you a personal example, because what a lot of people may not know about me is I'm a 2-time rape survivor. And when I repressed that trauma for 7 years, and when I came out of that trauma, forget about self-love. It was self-loathing. I remember I didn't even like to look at my skin. It was terrible, the kind of feelings that I had about myself. And I knew, okay, I want to go to a place where I really care about me and I love me. And I had the care piece, like I wanted to heal, but that love piece felt so far away. And so one of the things that I did to inspire that sense of love was I started going to TJ Maxx Home Goods. This was way back on the East Coast years ago. I'm a home goods girl. And I would go, and I didn't have much money at the time, and I would pick out, since I love color, I thought if I surround myself with beautiful things, I bet I'm going to feel more beautiful. And little by little, sometimes I would only go in and get one towel. It was on sale for $2.99, but I would pick out, you know, salmon and coral and bright blue. And then I would go to TJ Maxx and get all the little lotions and gels and things that smelled really good, because those were the ones that were really expensive and I couldn't afford them, but I could afford them there because they'd be marked way down. And, you know, after months of just taking those little moments where I'd go in there and check out and see if there was anything, that was all part of transforming that relationship, because doing those little inexpensive things for myself, it was like the whole process, you know, going in and looking through the towels and then seeing them in my bathroom and being able to open up my linen closet and it looked like sherbet. but those things, those are examples of how you can go from a place where you don't even like looking at your skin to walking into your bathroom and seeing signs of care and love for yourself that you can smell and touch and feel and see.
Wow, that was so beautiful. Thank you for sharing such a personal and being so transparent with that. It certainly will help all of us to have a deeper understanding of what you're sharing here. It makes perfect sense to me, and I'm inspired so much by you. Let's see, I have another question here. You struggled with self-worth while healing from your trauma. How did you move from that self-loathing to loving yourself first? So you went shopping, you surrounded yourself with the color. So were you reading some books? Were you talking with a coach perhaps? Or were you just doing your own self-work?
Well, you know, when I started that healing process, I had also just taken off 50 pounds because during the time that I was repressing that trauma, I put on a lot of weight. And so I think one of the most self-loving actions I did came through the way I ate. Now, I love food, and I love really good food like cheeseburgers and pizza. And so I'm not that girl who could just live on salad alone. But what I did do is I recognized early on I didn't want to be a slave to the gym, and I didn't want to be afraid of food, because for me, food is experience. I love it. And so one example was just the time that I would take to prepare certain things, and I still do it today. You know, we're so busy, right? So I always have my combination of things that are a little more fattening and the stuff that's a little less fattening. And so those, I would make my, like for instance, if I did make a salad, and I like to put a lot of stuff in there, I would make it beautiful. And it was really about the time I took to, and it was, we're not talking a lot of time, 15 minutes maybe, because I would make sure I had the stuff that I needed in the house. But the little things I would do is because I loved food and I was transforming how I was eating so that it was healthier than it was prior. What I would do is just kind of make it a mini event. So anything that I put on, I would garnish my plate a little bit. I mean, and these are simple things. I remember, you know, using strawberries and cheddar cheese and just putting little things around the edges of the plates. And that was the other thing, is that because I love food and I was wanting to keep that 50 pounds off, I used to go to Home Goods too and find all these funky plates. And then I would get these plates for like $2 and they were gorgeous. And then I would, you know, whatever I was making for dinner, it was also about the plate and the presentation. So I found other ways to maximize the enjoyment. And just the art of doing that was all about me. It was all about giving myself an experience. And those little things that we do for ourselves, they only take a couple of minutes, but they all translate into you feeling special to you. And believe me, when you start feeling special to you, you will not tolerate other people not treating you as the special woman that you are. It's just a natural, organic thing that happens.
Absolutely. I love how you've approached this, and it's so true, just creating all this balance and recognizing where there was some imbalance in your life and then taking those steps to celebrate and instead of medicate with this food. I love cooking as well. It's a beautiful experience and it's cathartic when you can sit there and prepare it and take your time. You know, it takes the emphasis on the quantity and it's more about the quality, and it's really what you're talking about, the quality of the relationship that you're having with yourself. And so I'm thrilled to hear your story, and your strategies are really practical, because I know that if anyone follows your advice and what you're teaching here, they can transform their lives just like you have. I have another question for you. So what are some steps that women can take to boost their irresistibility?
Well, this is my favorite. And I think, you know, just in the statement that you just made about the practical things that people can do, we are inundated with books and ideas and all these things that women are supposed to be doing, and we really do have to realize that less is more. It's the simple things that we do that matter the most, and sometimes we get so caught up in these big ideas, and that's why it feels so overwhelming. So having taken all that weight off and then going through a healing process, I understood right from the beginning that if I gave myself anything that was either too much or too disconnected from me, it wasn't going to work. If I went to the gym too much, I was going to burn out. If I restricted too much food, I was going to be miserable, and then I was just going to binge. And so I really, as I go into these quick 5 strategies, simple steps, I want women, please think about less is more. It's really the simple, everyday thing. So in being irresistible at any age, the first thing is you need to own your age. This may sound really simple, but we were talking about the letting go and the releasing. The bottom line is, whatever age you're at, you're here. So like it, don't like it, it's not going to change, which means you're at a crossroads. Either you own the age you are and you make it what you want, or it's going to own you. And when it owns you, it is not a fun story that you're writing. So own where you are, let go of where you've been, and use where you've been to help you decide where you want to go next. So the second step to that, of course, is really embracing your age and thinking about how do you want it to look? So often, and it's not, I mean, if we think about how much the world has changed, right? When they say, oh, 50 is the new 40 or is the new 30, and it's always changing. So the truth is, for most of us, I mean, I'm in my 40s. I remember what I thought about 40s when I was in my teens. It seemed so far away, and it seemed so incredibly different. And now that I'm here, I kind of laugh, and sometimes I have to say to myself, well, wow, I'm in my 40s. What do I want it to be like? And really, you can either choose to do that through your age, or you can even, once you embrace the age you're at, just kind of let go of the number, because I think living agelessly is the best. But just think about redesigning your life. Most of the time, the reason why people are struggling with an age is only because they have an old idea about that age from so long ago, and it usually conflicts with what they actually want to be experiencing. And they forget that really all they have to do is throw out whatever those limitations or ideas were that are not fun, and realize they're in the position now to basically redesign it. So redesign it. Embrace your age and redesign it. The third thing I would say, oh, stop competing. Don't compete with yourself yesterday. Don't try to compete with a woman who's 10 years younger than you. The reality is the whole idea of the competition is an illusion. It's a trap. And it's the worst kind of trap, because it makes you feel lousy, and it makes you a slave to something that has no real end. You're just kind of on the hamster wheel. So, if you want to feel attractive and you want to be attractive to other people, I don't care if you're talking about romantically, if you're talking about friends, the reality is nothing makes you more attractive than enthusiasm. It's your excitement with life, and it's your enjoyment of yourself. And that's why it's so important to do these self-loving actions, because you feel better about you, and people love being around somebody that feels good to be around. So step number 4, once you've stopped competing, it's time to really take care of yourself. Think about where you want to be. You don't have to be size 2. We are in the Photoshop capital of the world, right? I mean, basically, once you open a magazine, it doesn't matter where you are on the planet. That's what you're looking at. So let all of that go and recognize that, when you go into a grocery store, when you smile and somebody looks at you, they smile because a smile feels good. But you've got to think about, where do you want to be? How do you want to feel? If you want to take off 5 pounds, take off 5 pounds. But don't take it off because you think it makes you more attractive. Take it off because you think you feel better. Start using your feelings to gauge what you want to do instead of your head. Because that's the thing that gets us in trouble. We create these associations that say, well, I'll feel more irresistible, I'll be more irresistible if I'm this, instead of thinking, how will you feel? When you go by feel, you'll never go wrong, because you can't fake how you feel. But you can follow ideas in your head that end up being dead ends. So the last thing that I would say is live your life with enthusiasm. You have got to be excited about what you're doing. And if you're not excited yet, that's okay. Find things that excite you. It's an exploration. One of my best friends is 75, and she had the love of her life in her. And when he passed away, she's always been really, really active. But all of a sudden, about a decade later, she came to me and said, I think I want love in my life. And we went through the online dating, and I helped her get back out there. And after about maybe a year and a half, 2 years, she met another love of her life at 74. They've been traveling the world for the last year and a half. That is a woman who lives her life with enthusiasm. She never stopped. But as things changed, and she said, you know what? I think I will add love to my life. She decided to add it. And we need to be that dynamic. Don't close ourselves in, and instead be open. Then as new things come to us, we may feel like we have a full plate, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, you know what? I think I want to add that. Well, if you want a taste of that, go get it.
Wow, that is incredible. I love these last 5 steps, and each one is so critical that you follow along. I loved how you started and how you just ended. This has been such a wise talk from you, and I know that the audience is going to want to watch this interview, and they can do that. They can watch your interview or all of the interviews from the Engaged at Any Age Summit by going to engagedatanyage.com/upgrade. and they can download your interview right away, or all of them, like I said, and watch them at your leisure so you can take notes, because Charly, what you just covered is really, really, you pretty put it in wonderful perspective, and I really want to go back through the interview and take notes of everything you said, because I picked up a lot of great information today, and so I want to thank you so much. That was very powerful, and for sharing your personal story and being so transparent so others can learn and grow from what you already experienced.
You're so welcome. Jackie, would you mind if I added one quick little point
Not at all.
that I think is
And
really important?
you to talk to the audience about the free gift too, but please add anything
Yeah,
else.
well, it relates to the free gift, and it's really quick. And I just want to convey this because, you know, I met the love of my life last year, and I was in my 40s, and there's a lot of women out there that I know when I was talking about the competition piece, I know that there are more and more of us out there that are in that position of attracting love at an older age. Maybe we went through divorce, maybe we just hadn't found somebody that we really had that solid relationship with yet. And sometimes there is a fear because the men that we're dating are also in those younger dating pools. And I have to convey this. First of all, there are so many fantastic men out there that are so excited to meet a woman who's smart, has life experience, who takes care of herself, and is enthusiastic about life. The men who only want a younger face or a younger body, if you are a woman who's got it going on, he's already wrong for you. Don't even get distracted by that. Just know that that's a filter. As for the men who are dating younger, don't worry about that either, because the reality is when we get into a mode of thinking we need to compete, we've already lost, because now we're not just leading with who we are, and that's what men are looking for, is somebody who's enthusiastic about who she is personally. So I just really want to put that piece in there, because I know so many women are caught up thinking they need to stay looking a certain way or be better. You can't. Just be you, and I promise you there are so many men out there that are just going to be so excited. But if you get upset or bitter or insecure, that's the part that becomes like a shield where they can't recognize you anymore. So bust out there and be you.
You added that because I think one of the things that women lose and over because of the life experience that we experience by the time we do hit middle age is our zest for life, because we've had some tough breaks and we tend to let go of that joy, and the younger women maybe still have it, and so I can see how that may look that way, but you're absolutely right. There are plenty of men out there, and at any age, it's so possible to find love and find the relationship you're looking for, and you're absolutely right. Men are looking for enthusiasm and sparkle, and a woman that is in love with her life. I mean, isn't that what we want in men? We want that in men. Why wouldn't they want the same at any age? And so just following everything that Charly is saying is really going to step up your game, because that's what it comes down to. We do need to stop competing and just start living for ourselves and living our own best life, and that's just so attractive.
Yay!
I'm 50, and I was engaged at any age. I got married last year, and my husband is 60, and we are having a ball. This is the most wonderful, wonderful relationship I've ever had with myself. It's really not until I fell in love with myself, and I did a lot of the things that you were recommending, working on myself. It wasn't until I reached that point in my life that I turned the corner and opened up a whole new place in my life where I could meet somebody like my husband. And so these strategies really do work. And tell us about your free gift.
Yes, well, actually, I'm going to give 2 free gifts.
Oh,
One
I love it.
is it's a PDF that you can download, 10 ways to love yourself first. So for all the women out there that really want to, kickstart this whole new relationship with yourself, 10 ways you can get started right away. And the second gift is from I wrote a great book called Thank Goodness You Dumped His Ass. Use those Mr. Wrongs to lead you straight to Mr. Right. And there is a condensed ultimate relationship manual which has all the Charlyisms from there. and the basic concepts from each chapter of the book. I'm going to give that as a free gift also, just in case anybody out there is also looking for love. It's a great strategic guide, and then if you want more, you can always pick up the bigger book. But those are my 2 gifts that I'm going to have for the audience today.
Oh, you are so generous. Thank you. I love it. So a bonus gift with this interview. And I know that I'm going to take a peek at those myself when we get off this call. And so just to wrap it up, I just wanted to thank you again, Charly. I so enjoy listening to your words of wisdom, and I know that this interview is going to be a big hit. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. I so appreciate you.
Oh, it's such an honor, and thank you, thank you, thank you. And for everybody out there, just make this your best life ever as you go forward.
Okay, so thank you again for joining us. I'm Jackie Sabrin at Engaged at Any Age. Bye-bye.